everybody, welcome to the final day of Booktastic. It's already been an incredible couple of days. We've had events from MG Leonard, from Laura Ellen Anderson, Katie and Kevin Sang, Steve Cole, Axel Scheffler, Vashti Hardy and Patrice Lawrence yesterday, and we are delighted to welcome so many of you here today. It is a shame that we're not welcoming you in person, and who knew that 12 months ago when we did this online, we'd still be doing it online this year. But the bonus of this happening is A, that we can welcome so many of you and from all over the UK, not just from Bedford, and B, it means we can welcome participants from all across the globe, as you will see very, very soon. Now, next year, we're hoping to be live and in person again, but we're going to do a bit of a hybrid next year. So as we do a live event, we're going to be live streaming it, which means that those of you who are local can come and meet the authors and illustrators, but those who aren't can still enjoy the event live. So we're really looking forward to that. Now, we start our final day with an amazing event with an illustrator who I'm sure you all know, and I'm sure he is as close to your heart as he is to ours. As well as being an award-winning and best-selling author and illustrator, David Litchfield is actually a Bedford boy. And we've been delighted to watch his work as it takes the world by storm. And we've seen him work with some incredible writers. And today, he is joined by his latest collaborator on a book that is just full of warmth and heart, and it's the perfect tale of friendship that we all need at a time when we've had to rewrite the way that we connect with our friends. Alex Latimer is an award-winning author of one of my favourite stories ever, Wolf, and he is joining David today all the way from South Africa. You'll have a chance to put your questions to David and Alex. Just use the live Q&A button, and we'll feed your comments through to them both. But first, David's going to chat to you about the final instalment in his very famous series, The Bear and the Piano. And on that note, I'm going to shut up because you haven't come to listen to me, you've come to listen to these guys. So, David, welcome to Booktastic again.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. I always love it at Booktastic, and I can't wait to give you a good old real-life hug, Rachel, when we're allowed, when we can do things like that again.
Amazing.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is David Litchfield. I am an author and illustrator, which I still can't quite believe, but there I am. That's my job. Yes, okay, so I'm going to talk to you. We're going to get on to Pip Egg, which is the latest book that I've collaborated on with the lovely Alex, who we're going to be meeting very, very shortly. As Rachel said, it is a lovely book. It is one of my favourite books that I've ever worked on. The characters in this book are just so lovely, and it's such a great story. And yeah, we're going to be learning all about that in a few moments. But before we do, I just want to take up a little bit of your time talking to you about another recent book that I made, which is called The Bear, the Piano and Little Bear's Concert, which I wrote the story and also did all the drawings, did all the pictures. This is the third book in the Bear and the Piano series. Some of you may have read The Bear and the Piano, which was my first ever book, which I believe one of my launch events was at Rachael Rogan's shop, Rogan's Books, all the way back at the end of 2015. So it's getting a bit old now, this book. But yeah, this book, I'm not going to have a chance to read this book because we are short of time, but some of you may remember it's about a bear who finds a piano in the woods, learns how to play the piano, plays the piano for all of his friends in the forest, and then goes on to become a big, huge star in the city and plays all these giant concerts and just becomes a bit of a big deal and plays all these lovely concerts for all these lovely people. But he misses his home, and he always comes back to the forest from where it all started. He always tries to remember where it all started. So this is part of that series. There is a second book in the Bear and the Piano series, which for some reason I only have the French copy of in my room here. But this is called The Bear, the Piano, the Dog and the Fiddle. And it's all about how the bear starts a band with Hugo the dog, who can play the violin, and they go on other big adventures and do all these different concerts and things. So yeah, this book, The Bear, The Piano and Little Bear's concert is all about what happens to the bear as he's got a little bit older and he's kind of looking back on his life and all the fun and all the success and all the stardom, and he's just kind of assessing everything, really. Shall we read it? Shall we have a read? If you've got a copy at home, you can read along. If you haven't, then I hope you enjoy it. But this is called The Bear, the Piano, and Little Bear's Concert by David Litchfield, which is me. Incredible. So there we go. Look, there's the first image right there. Bear is still a big star. He's still playing to huge audiences. Look at that. Remember those. Remember concerts. Hopefully we can go back and enjoy a concert fairly soon too. I would really look forward to that. Okay. Do you remember the story of the bear who found a piano in the woods? It took him on wonderful journeys to the big city where he became a huge star. All of Bear's dreams came true. But as time went by, Bear got older. Things started to change. Bear still felt the same, but the piano came less grand. The stages got smaller, and the applause died away. Oh, poor Bear. So Bear went home, and this time it was for good. For a while, Bear found it hard to fit back into life in the forest. Sometimes he missed the city and the amazing things that he did there. But all that changed when Little Bear came along. Growing up, Little Bear had so much fun with her dad. She loved to try new things like walking, rolling in the grass, swimming in the river, and listening to the stories of the other bears. Little Bear never sat still for too long. Soon Bear found it hard to keep up with her, especially when she climbed trees or chased birds through the woods. Then one day, Little Bear found something that she'd never seen before. What could it be? Wow, look, it's Bear's piano with all of his different memories hanging from the branches. When Bear caught up, Little Bear asked her dad what that strange thing was, and he told her that it was a piano. Gradually, Little Bear learned all about Bear's adventure in the city. And when Bear talked about playing in a band with his friend Hugo, the dog, he looked so happy. But there was something Little Bear didn't understand. Look, there's a poster with the bear playing in the band with Hugo on the violin. Why don't you play the piano anymore, Dad? Little Bear asked. And suddenly, Bear looked sad. No one wants to listen to a silly old bear like me, he sighed. Come on, let's forget all this nonsense and get back to the others. That night, Little Bear felt so proud of her dad, but she couldn't stop thinking about how unhappy he had seemed. Looking at one of his old posters, she suddenly had an idea. She would invite Hugo to the forest to cheer Bear up. And look, Little Bear is rearranging some of the words on the poster. Can we see what Little Bear is spelling out? She's starting to create a message. When she had made her letter, Little Bear asked the bird to take it to the city. Look, there's the bird taking the letter. Then Little Bear waited. She started to worry that the message didn't get to where it was meant to. Or maybe Bear was right. Maybe no one wanted to listen anymore. Maybe Hugo just wasn't coming. Many weeks later, Little Bear had given up all hope. But then, early one morning, she heard something coming from deep inside the woods. It was like nothing else she had ever heard before. What is it? Little Bear asked her dad as they followed the sound through the trees. It's music, he replied. Brilliant, beautiful music. The music got louder and louder as they walked deeper into the forest. And then they saw something that made their paws tingle. Wow, look at that. All these different animal musicians have come to the forest, playing all their instruments and making some incredible music. I bet that's really loud. I bet that's really loud and rocking. Look at that. We're having a great time. What are you doing here? Bear asked, seeing Hugo in the crowd. Look, there's Hugo with his message. When I got Little Bear's message, I knew I had to come to the forest, Hugo explained. And everyone else wanted to come too. All these animals want to say thank you for inspiring them to follow their dreams. So, from around the world, we have the tiger and the guitar, the fox and the harmonica, the deer and the kazoo, the owl and the banjo, the lion and the flute, and the crocodile and the harp. The one thing missing from this amazing animal orchestra is the bear and the piano. As Bear sat in front of the piano and touched the familiar keys again, he realized how much he had missed it. All of the animals agreed that Little Bear's concert was the best the forest had ever seen. Look at them all having a great time playing music in the forest. That looks like so much fun. And although it had only lasted for one day, everyone knew that the music would always stay in their hearts. The end. Oh, there we go. Well, actually, it's not quite the end. Look, there's one more picture. And look, it's of Little Bear. She comes up to the piano one morning on her own and she starts to just tap the keys. So maybe she will also go on to become a world famous musician like her dad. Who knows? Who knows what the future will bring for Little Bear. But there we go. There is The Bear, the Piano, and Little Bear's concert. That is another one of my most recent books. It came out a few months ago. I hope that you enjoyed that. It's been a real adventure making these Bear and the Piano books. When I made the first book, where is the first book? When I made the first book, I'd never made a book before. This was my first ever book. And it's incredible, really, because I wasn't sure how many people would read this book. But it's amazing, really, because it's gone all around the world. All these exciting things are happening. Boys and girls in France and Spain and America and China and Japan and all these amazing places are reading this book. And now having the opportunity to make the final book in the series was a real cool thing and a real treat, really. Now, staying with The Bear and the Piano, we will bring Alex in a few moments and talk a bit about Pip Egg. But I wondered whether you would like to do a drawing together. If you have pens and paper, maybe we can do a drawing together, because I've got this idea. Now, I've drawn the bear for you a few times, and I've seen some of your amazing bear drawings, a lot of you out there who have shown me what you've come up with after one of these little workshops. So I thought we might try something different today. I thought we might try and draw Hugo the dog, who's from Bear's band. So yeah, if you want to give that a go, I'm just going to swap cameras now. This might get a bit technical, but I'm going to see how I get on. Let's have a look. You probably will see in a second my sketchbook. Let's have a look. There we go. Do we? Yes, there we go. Whew, that was tense. Okay, so for a few moments, you're going to see my sketchbook. Now, this is where I do a lot of my crazy drawings, all kinds of different things, really. Some of them good, some of them bad, some of them really scruffy. But yeah, so we are going to draw. Let's find a blank page. Let's see what we have. Oh, blimey, there's not much room in this one. I think that's Luke Skywalker. I think what's he doing in there? There we go. Okay. That was a picture of my dog. Here we go. Finally, some blank pages. There we go. Right. Okay. So if you have a pencil, if you have a pen, this is going to be a very quick drawing, a very sketchy drawing. We're going to see how we get on. I haven't drawn Hugo for a while, actually, so I might be a bit rusty on this. But let's see how we get on. The first thing we're going to draw, though, is that bright enough? It might be a bit dark. Let's have a look. Okay. The first thing we're going to draw, there we go, look. Let there be light. Is I'm going to draw this shape. It's like almost like a little shield shape like that. And then underneath that shield, I'm going to draw a little smiling mouth like that. And then let's start to add the nose and the jaw of Hugo. So a line coming from the shield and then all the way around like that. Look, there we go. It's starting to take shape now. Look. Okay, let's add some eyes. Now, Hugo's got some very cheeky eyes. He's quite a mischievous little dog. So a circle, and then another circle inside that circle, and then another circle inside that circle. Okay, there we go. Now let's start to bring it all together a little bit. So I'm going to draw Hugo's head. So up and around, and then I'm going to keep going down because it goes into his neck. And then also let's draw a bit of his neck on this side. There we go. Look, he's starting to take shape. Let's give him some ears, shall we? He's a musician dog, so he needs his ears. There we go. One ear. And then another one. Looking good, Hugo. Now, Hugo also has patches. He's a patchy dog, so let's put a patch around one eye and then a patch around the other eye. And he's a very stylish dog. I think the music Hugo makes is quite jazzy. So I'm going to give him a nice kind of neckerchief like this. So a line there and then that kind of shape like so. Let's do a little bit of his arms or his upper body. So there's his arms. We won't draw the whole body. We'll do this as a portrait. And then let's just add a little bit of detail. So I'm going to give him some quizzical looking eyebrows, big bushy eyebrows. There we go. Maybe a few hairs flying off them. Let's also do some hairy ears. There we go. Now he wears braces to hold his trousers up. So let's draw those in. In fact, maybe we can draw the top of his trousers there. And then a couple of dots to indicate the buttons on his shirt. And in fact, I'm going to give him some sleeves of his arms. There we go. Let's give him a bit of shading as well. Oh, I've got into this drawing now. Look, I'm adding bits that I don't necessarily need. That's what happens when you get into a drawing, is you can just start adding to it. A very famous person once said that a drawing is never finished. It is merely abandoned, because you can always keep adding little bits to it. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. But I'm going to stop. In fact, the last thing I'm going to do, and this is what you should all do on your drawings if you've managed to draw one, is sign your drawing. Because in 100 years, who knows, someone might find your drawing and want to know exactly who the artist is. So there we go. But there's my drawing of Hugo the dog from The Bear and the Piano and Little Bear's concert. And also, he's also in The Bear, the Piano, the Dog and the Fiddle. So there we go. That's my drawing. Okay, let's try and come back to the original camera. There we go. I should be on your screen about now. There I am. Hello. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed The Bear, the Piano and Little Bear's concert. I hope that you enjoyed the drawing. We are going to now bring along a very special guest. As Rachael said, he's come all the way from, or he's not come all the way, but he is all the way sitting. He's sitting all the way away in South Africa. This is Mr. Alex Latimer. Hello, Alex.
Hey. Hi, David. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. Or not quite there, but
well,
yeah.
Absolutely. But hopefully one day you can come over to Bedford and we can show you all the great sights of Bedford. We have a lovely river. We have a lovely Rachael Rogan in Bedford. We have all kinds of things in Bedford. So yeah, but hopefully one day soon, maybe next year or whenever, you're able to come and visit us. That would be really, really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just doing my drawing of
hey, that's pretty good. Look at that.
Yeah, that's what fun.
I really like that because Alex, despite being an incredible author of such books as Pip Egg, Alex is also an absolutely brilliant illustrator in his own right, and he's also illustrated a number of books, which maybe we can learn a bit about during this session. But Alex, shall we read Pip and Egg for the good people of Bedfordshire and elsewhere?
Sure. I'll just read this. I'll read the story. David will show you the beautiful pictures that he's done for this.
Properly. There we go. Oh no, there we go.
This story of friendship, and it's a story I think that I think we all need at the moment. I think we've all been missing someone in our lives, right? I think that there's grandparents and family that we haven't seen, and friends across the world that I think this book is for them. And let me read it. Cool, Pip and Egg. There they are. One bright afternoon, Pip met Egg. They were both very happy to find a friend who was the same size and shape. Look at that lovely light in that picture. I love it. Soon they saw each other every day. Pip, said Egg, we are birds of a feather. Egg, said Pip, we are two peas in a pod. After a few weeks, they pinky promised to be friends forever. But then spring came, and something strange happened. Pip began to grow a root, and then a shoot. And just like that, he found himself planted in one spot. He couldn't run or hop or swim with his friend the way he used to. Luckily, it was a nice spot. He had a view down the valley to the river, and he was sheltered from the wind by a big rock. Every day, Egg came to visit Pip. They played I Spy and Rock Leaf Stick and all the other games they invented while they watched the sky. The weeks went by, and then Pip's shoot became a proper stem, and on it grew a few glossy leaves. Then one day Egg arrived for her visit, much later than usual. Pip heard a chirp from behind a big rock. Egg, is that you? Pip asked. In a way, answered a small voice. When Egg stepped out, she was not the same Egg she'd been. Now, she had short wings and a blue beak and scruffy feathers that looked like wet hair. I can't let anyone see me like this, said Egg. Pip understood. Stay here with me, he said. So Egg stayed with Pip, and the days passed and they chatted and they told jokes and they made plans. But then Egg's feathers began to grow longer and stronger. She discovered that when she flapped her new wings, they took her high into the air. She could see the whole landscape. Her friend Pip and his valley became a tiny speck. When she got back, Egg panted, Pip, I have to leave. There's a whole world to explore. I wish you could come. Me too, said Pip. More than anything. But I have to stay here. You go and you come back soon. You know where I am. Egg hugged Pip, and then she took off into the air. Pip reached up with his branches trying to follow her, but he was rooted to the ground. It felt to Pip that his heart had broken. Egg flew over lakes and mountains and forests. She saw glaciers and beaches and waterfalls pouring over cliffs. She flew on until she came to the most wonderful place of all, the city. It was filled with people and noise and breadcrumbs and other birds. Egg loved it. She made friends. She ate exciting foods. She roosted on the head of a statue. Then one morning, she felt something new in her stomach, a big lump. You'll be a mother soon, said one of the other birds. You have an egg in there. There was no one Egg wanted to tell more than her friend Pip. And so she flew back to Pip, where he waited in his valley. Egg knew exactly where to go. Pip had grown into a sturdy tree. His branches were tipped with long green leaves and bright white blossoms. Pip, called Egg even before she had landed. I'm going to be a mother. Pip was very happy to see his old friend and thrilled about her news. Egg told him everything, but then he spoke to her very seriously. Egg, said Pip, where will you make your nest? How will you choose out of all the places in the world where to lay your very own egg? Egg looked at Pip. It's true, she said. I've seen so many wonderful places, but I've already decided on the best place in the world. Where is it? Asked Pip. Right here, said Egg. I will build my nest in your very branches and lay my egg in this very spot, if you'll let me. If he could have, Pip would have jumped for joy. And so Egg built her home in Pip's branches and gently set her egg in the nest. Pip was careful not to sway too much in the wind. They lived there side by side for the rest of their lives, playing games and telling jokes and making plans. They might even still be there still. The end.
Hey.
Lovely.
Oh, what a lovely book.
Yeah, it always the ending always makes me feel, that like, oh, you like that you miss someone or you think of someone. It's that deep friendship that it's lovely, isn't it? And the pictures are just perfect for us.
Oh, thank you. It was, like I said, it was such a lovely book to draw. When I got sent your script, your manuscript, I could see it all perfectly straight away. I just thought this is like I just could not wait to get started on drawing this book, and I'm so pleased that we were partnered up to make this book. It's a really one of my favourites that I've done. Okay, so thank you, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen, for listening to us so nicely, and thank you, Rachael, for inviting us to your lovely festival. Is there any questions that the lovely people of Bedfordshire and beyond would like to ask us, Rachael?
There are a lot of questions, as I absolutely expected. So let's have a quick look. My first question, actually, I want to. This is a bit of a selfish one, is that what you were just saying about you and Alex working together, and I only figured out whilst I was kind of doing some prep for this event that Alex is the creator of the Wolf book, which I just love, one of my favourite books of all time. And then I remembered that you, David, came into my children's bookshop many years ago asking for it and talking about it. And this morning I went, hang on, was that intentional? Did he know he was going to be working with Alex? I can't remember how long ago it was. So that's just a little bit of a backstory to your partnership. Do you want to? Go on, sorry.
I didn't know I'd be working with Alex when I bought that book. No, absolutely not. I just love the look of it. I was very much drawn in by the artwork and the concept of it, and I'm a bit of I collect cool children's books as part of what I do, and I take inspiration from a lot of other children's books. When I saw Wolf, I just knew I wanted to have it, and now I'm so happy that we got to work together. Absolutely, like 3 or 4 years later, it's incredible.
It's brilliant. For me, it's the book. The book that one of my very favorite books at the moment, and since it's been out, is Lights on Cotton Rock, which is David's book, and I feel like I love science fiction, and I love picture books, and it's this coming together of these two things that work so well, and they don't necessarily, the idea of the two working together is never. It doesn't really go together in your brain, but when you look at it, it's this beautiful story and it's a lovely thing. So I was thrilled to be working with David. So
I'm very proud of that. It's one of my favorites.
Beautiful, yeah. And actually, interestingly, David, you talking earlier about Alex being an amazing illustrator in his own right. We have a very, very funny question here, which I love, and this is probably my favourite question that's been asked throughout all of these, is, David, if Alex is an author and a brilliant illustrator, why on earth did he need you for Pip Egg?
I don't know. Who knows? I have no idea. This is a question I want to ask Alex, actually. Like, why did you not book it yourself? It's such a great book.
Well, there's two reasons actually. The one is that I like doing a lot of. I mean, I've written a lot of books, and I can't illustrate them all. And the other is that I feel like every opportunity I get to work with a famous person like David is wonderful. I feel like a kid who's getting just allowed to do this stuff. So whenever the option comes up to work with someone cool and talented and amazing, absolutely, that's like so much fun for me. So yeah.
Well, there we go. There you go. I told you I was famous, Rachael.
Of course, you know, and actually, as I see the school run in the mornings, I do try to get my eyes and not look you directly in the eye because, you know, famous and everything.
I'm at my best on the school run.
I love this. It's like a massive love-in. It's amazing. So, David, actually, on that note, which do you prefer to do? Do you prefer writing and drawing your own stories, illustrating picture books that someone else did, or coming up with book covers?
Is this for me? Is this for me?
Yeah.
Well, they all have their own like happy little challenges to them, and they all have their own happy little kind of, you know, charms to them. I think drawing. I really like coming up with stories, and I really like coming up with kind of characters, and I really like. So you know, I like some cotton rock. I love drawing. Bear and the Piano. I like drawing. There's a different kind of pressure, I guess, when you're working with another author, because it's like you've got a responsibility to sort of translate their world and their baby that they've created, and you know. So yeah, there's a pressure there, but it's a nice pressure. I quite like having that pressure. And I love kind of collaborating, and I love working with authors. And sometimes there's this magical moment that happens, which I think happened with Alex's script. It's where it's like, it just felt so perfect, that story. And I could just see it so straight away. Like I started sketching kind of straight away in my sketchbook, how this book should look and what these characters should look like. And, you know, all this kind of stuff. It just sort of happened so naturally. It just felt like it was sort of meant to be, almost, that, you know, I was meant to illustrate this book because it was just such a perfect thing. But I love all ways of creating, whether it's working with someone else or working on my own. But of course, I'm never really working on my own. Even when it's my own story, I've got an editor and an art director who are kind of offering, you know, advice and opinions and kind of steering it and stuff. So it's always a team effort, no matter what kind of book I work on. Alex, what about you? What do you prefer? Do you prefer just the writing or the drawing, or a bit of both?
For me, it really feels like two different parts of my brain, and so I feel like I get tired doing the one, and then I get the rest of being able to do the other one, and so they work so well together. You do the writing. Sometimes a story works easily. It comes. You write it in a day, and sometimes a story you have to fight with and get all the bits working, and some bits like the ending doesn't work or whatever. Yeah. And by the end of that, then to switch off that writing side of the brain and get on to drawing is fantastic. But I must say, I like writing Pip and Egg and handing it over to you. That was a real treat. Like it's just you know, it comes back looking better than I had anticipated, you know. And that's well,
it was funny, really, because a couple of weeks after the book came out, you sent me your original sketches for the book, for your idea, for when you wrote the script. And part of me was like, oh, would it have been good to see these before, or was it good that I didn't see these before? But what was reassuring was they weren't like crazily dissimilar to my original sketches. I think they were. So we were thinking on the same lines, definitely.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have sent them if they had been if they'd been too vastly different. I think they're very complementary. You know, I think that's.
I mean, you know, you can't go too wrong when you're drawing a Pip and an Egg. They're quite similar. You know, they're going to be similar in anyone's mind, but when the story obviously develops and stuff, and even some of the framing of some of your sketches, I found were quite similar.
Yeah.
So that's good. Has Rachael vanished? Has she disappeared on us? She seems to have disappeared, but never mind. So what I could do while we're waiting for Rachael, shall I show you how I draw Egg when Egg is in her bird form? I'm gonna. Oh, she's back. You're back. Thank goodness. We were having.
Sorry.
That's
I
all right.
was trying to click on the question because there were some great questions coming in, and who knows what I did? I basically kicked myself out. I'm very, very, very sorry about that.
Well, shall I do this anyway? Shall I do a quick drawing now? Have we got time? Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was to kill time while we was waiting for you, but let's. Oh, I need to change my camera, don't I? Let's do that. Bear with me. Okay, so there we go. There's my sketchbook again. There is Hugo. Okay, so very quickly, this will be really quick and really rough. But basically, this is going to be Egg. I mean, drawing Pip and Egg as they are in their original form is, like I said, dead easy. There we go. There's Egg. Oh, can you not? Oh, sorry. There we go. I'm there. Am I there? There I am.
Yeah.
And there is Pip. Look, incredibly easy. Let's give him some arms. So anyone can do that. That's like, you know. But let's try and draw Egg when she is in her bird form. So I'm going to start with this shape. It's almost kind of like. In fact, that's too big. Let's start again. Let's draw a bit smaller. It's kind of like you draw a pear. Ish. A pear-ish. And then I'm going to draw a little face. Give her a beak. In fact, let's. She's singing. She's flying. There we go. And again, a little bit of fur. Or feathers, rather. Okay, and now this is where the fun bit. Now, if you have coloured pencils or paint or stuff, which I don't have at the moment, but you can really go to town with these wings, because this was one of the funnest part of drawing these books, was just drawing these crazy wings with all those amazing feathers, and they just kind of come out at all different angles. Let's get one going there. And you can go as big or as small as you want. You can go on forever, really, with these feathers. There we go, look. And then another one on the other side. Look at that. So, yeah, drawing the feathers was one of the funnest parts of this book, because, you know, you can just add all these different colours and textures. And I really wanted Egg, when she was in her bird form, to be like really stunning and really beautiful, with all these different patterns and kind of you know, plumage. There we go. So yeah, that's how I drew. And let's give her some little legs tucked under there as she's flying. Maybe we can draw a little shadow here so we know that she's off the ground. There we go. In fact, look, I'm getting into it again. There we go. Let's get some shading on some of these. Maybe some light coming down. There we go. There is Egg from Pip and Egg, flying not quite through the sky, but flying just above the ground. Okay, let's bring you back. Okay, I'm back. There we go. So that's how I draw, or how I ended up drawing Egg from Pip and Egg.
Find inspiration for your characters. Where does that come from?
Alex, you go first.
Well, for me, for drawing, I've always felt like I started out writing, and then I moved to illustration, and so it just felt like I just drew what I could draw. My very first book was this whole idea, which was called The Boy Who Cried Ninja, was me trying to figure out how to draw a ninja that looked like the same ninja from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. Rather than you picking it up and reading it and going, why are there all these ninjas in this book when there should only be one? And so for me, it started out, my limitation was actually in drawing was actually really helpful that way. It was, my ninja that I drew he was sort of a bean shape, and then a book, the book after that was called Penguin's Hidden Talent, which was basically the same bean shape with a beak. So I've really felt like that was I think from there I've progressed and I've found different ways of drawing, but it was a good way for me to learn how to draw, and just realizing that what you're good at is what you can do is often the thing that makes you different. So yeah. And you, David?
Well, mine just come like I just sketch all the time. So basically, I have loads of sketchbooks, and yeah, just that's where ideas come from. So this is like a great sketchbook, because this is the one that I had when I was coming up with ideas for my first book, and I do all kinds of crazy stuff in them, like these two dudes with big giant noses and things. But yeah, no. So I drew this picture of a crazy looking bear playing the piano, like really scruffy, really kind of strangely kind of drawn picture of a bear playing the piano. And that's where the whole idea for the bear and the piano came from, was from that one sketch. And I find that's where a lot of kind of the inspiration comes from. It's just sketching and just seeing what's on my mind and what's kind of coming out, and but I mean, you can kind of also look at things like films and like Alex mentioned, Lights and Cotton Rock. That's very much inspired by my love of films like E.T. and Close Encounters and all these kind of great films from the 70s and 80s that I grew up watching.
There's a great Close Encounters vibe in that. I love that.
Yeah, but it can come from anywhere. That's why I always try and have a sketchbook with me, because you could be sitting on the bus or something, and you suddenly think, oh, that's a great idea, and then you need to just sketch it down or write it down. Or
I often find that a good place to think of ideas is where you go for a walk, right? And then I remember the one day going, I'm going to try and think of an idea, and I got sort of 6 minutes down the road, and this idea dawned on me, and I didn't have paper with me, I didn't have my phone, and I had to rush back in order to write it down before I lost it. Which is that's the way you want it to be, right?
Was that like, I feel that Pip and Egg, the idea would have come to you on a walk in all of nature and everything around you.
Well, I mean, when people ask me where ideas come from, I can actually give them I can drop a pin on Google Maps if they'd like to know exactly.
I kind of love this. I'm a big fan of kind of the Greek classics and things like that. And I love this idea that you guys are just struck by a muse when you're in the middle of nowhere and they're just feeding this stuff to you.
Well, it's not as dramatic. Well, maybe it is as dramatic as that, but it's sort of, it can just hit you. You can be like, and you're like, I need to write that down, or I need to draw that. The most annoying time is like just before you're about to fall asleep, like at night. You're like, oh my goodness, this is the best idea I've ever had, but I just can't be bothered to write it down because I'm so close to falling asleep.
There's also the thinking of a great idea and then not having the ending, or I mean, it's not always. I mean, the best case scenario is when you get the whole thing delivered to you. Yeah. But sometimes it's a battle, and then and that's rewarding in its own way.
Yeah, and that's part of where the process comes into it. Is like, you've got the initial idea. It's like finding the structure to this idea is where where you really kind of have to work hard. Or I do anyway.
So is there anything that you've kind of, if you had a particular something that struck you, but that you just really haven't had the opportunity to bring to life yet, that you really want to, you're really keen to?
Oh yeah. Loads and loads. I've got sketchbooks full of stuff, and I just hope, I sort of hope that I get a chance to do them as many of them as possible. Although sometimes, you know, I'll have an idea from like 5 years ago, and then I'll look at it and I'll go, actually, maybe it wasn't that good. Maybe that one belongs, you know, in the sketchbook. And but yeah, no, I do. I have a few ideas like that. I think most people do, definitely.
Exciting. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I've actually lately I've felt like there's a book that I'm working on now, which was me. I was sitting and I thought of the title for it, and I knew I don't know what this book's about, but it's going to be called The Duck Never Blinks. And like that was for me, it was just this moment, and then figuring that the rest of it up was fun, and it's there. It works as a book.
Wow.
Hopefully,
that's a great title.
Well, it kind of reminds me of Margaret Atwood. There's a flash that comes up on my social media every now and again about her writing process and talking about the start of a story. And she says, instead of going, you know, once upon a time there was a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood, she just starts with a sentence, which is, it was dark in the wolf's belly. And it just goes from there. And that kind of feels like that to me, the duck never blinked. And it just feels like a concept of a story right there.
Yeah, and it's one of those frustrating things that if you want another idea like that, you can't do the same thing. It doesn't. Yeah, it's just you have to be ready. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to make sure I've got all my questions here. I mean, we've got thousands, but I'm just going to
try. Can you say before we start on the thousands?
Don't worry, I'm not going to do the thousands.
Can I promise that I will say happy birthday to a very, very lovely and special girl called Emily, because it's her birthday right now today. So it's a big day for Emily. So happy birthday, Emily!
Happy birthday, Emily!
Have lots of cake and hope you get lots of presents.
Okay, I'm going to find a question to wrap this up with, because we're already a little bit over time, but that's fine. I don't care. I'll talk to you two all day. But David, I know that you have children. Yes. Alex, do you have children?
Yeah.
You do. Okay. So having your own children and watching them grow and develop, has that changed your work at all?
Ooh, that's a great question. My children are getting, of course, yes, it absolutely has. My children, in a number of ways, on a practical level, my children are getting old now. So, like, my oldest son is 9. My youngest son is still 4, but he seems to be a bit like they're not that interested in reading picture books at the moment, which for me, from a professional point of view, is a little bit annoying. Because like it used to be great that I could kind of run these ideas past them, but they're like, oh, I just want to read Avengers now. Just tell me about Avengers, or like I want to hear about footballers and stuff. Although the youngest one, I take some of that back, because the youngest one, George, he's still very much into it, but he's starting to get a little bit blasé. I can see it creeping in. So on a practical level, yeah, that's kind of changed from that sense. But I think it does. I think parenthood, you just on a general level see the world very, very differently. It's not just about you now. It's not just about you and yourself, and you can't be selfish anymore. There's just so many different things that kind of get knocked out of the park when you become a parent, and watching them grow and making sure that they're kind of experiencing the world in the best possible way. All these things that picture books have kind of taught us really kind of come into reality as a parent of a 9-year-old, especially, where you sort of want to protect them from the world, but also you want them to be aware of what happens in the world. So yeah, it's researching lots of picture books and reading lots of picture books as a young person, but also as a grown-up, has almost kind of been a training for part of my parenting, really.
How about you, Alex?
I've got a 10-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter, and the 6-year-old has started making her own picture books now.
Oh wow!
And I was just trying to look whether I could show you one of them, but they're great. So this one, I mean, just if you can see that, the tallest giraffe.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's like, so the giraffe is, so this giraffe is
that's so cool.
taller taller than everything, taller than the zebra and the elephant. And then the zebra and elephant work together, and the elephant gets a trophy and some money, and so does the zebra. You can see she gets bored with drawing some pages, and that's the end. And for me, it's
wow, that's amazing!
Yeah, isn't it brilliant?
Very cool.
So for me, I'm trying to pass it on, and see. I came to drawing picture books very late, but if she's doing this now, I can give her all the connections, and so it's brilliant.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I think for me, I started writing picture books before I had kids, and so it's this balance between I'm actually writing books I want to read. I enjoy reading picture books, and those The Boy Who Cried Ninja was a book for me, really. And so there's this balance of like I love reading it, and I want other people to love reading it, and my kids are part of that group. So it's a weird combination.
Oh, I love this. I wish we could talk all day, but of course we can't. It's been amazing. It's been an absolute honor to have you both here, and it's been so lovely chatting to you. And I think that the work you've done together is just perfect. And I think, Alex, your words and David's pictures are just blend beautifully. And I'm sure everybody here has loved listening to you as well. And I'm sure you all want to buy Pip and Egg and read Pip and Egg and the Bear, the Piano and Little Bears concert. And you will all have received a link to our festival bookshop when you bought your tickets. And if you'd like to buy the books, you can do that there. And if you do, you get a little discount, and also it helps support the festival. So it'd be lovely if you could do that. Wow, day 3 has begun, and we've started strong. And yet we've still got so much more to come. Next up at 11:30 is the incredible Samid Mian with her Planet Omar series. This afternoon we have just the funniest guy, Gareth P. Jones, who not only is a writer, but he is a performer as well. So you can expect a lot of fun from his session. And then the grand finale is just an incredible event. We've got poet Raymond Antrobus and illustrator Polly Dunbar together doing their book Can Bears Ski, which is just so stunningly beautiful and important, and helps deaf children see themselves, and it helps hearing children understand what they're going through. But for now, I want to say a huge thank you to David and Alex for joining us. And I'm sure you all want to tell them how much you admire their work. I know we've had so many comments in the chat saying how much you love their stories and how much you just get out of those stories. So thank you so much from us. Hope to see the rest of you for the rest of the weekend. But for now, thank you and goodbye from Booktastic.
Bye.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.